It seems like the self-improvement space is completely dominated by men who are either childless or who have wives who are the ones holding it down with most of the childcare and home care. And while their advice may be fantastic, it's definitely not tailored to those of us who are moms to young children and who are on call 25/8 to meet all of their most urgent and pressing needs. So in this video, we're gonna chat all about self-improvement as it relates to motherhood. If you've never seen my face before, hello, my name is Sage. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 2 toddlers, and I am on a mission to improve my lives and therefore subsequently improve the lives of my children. On this channel, I aim to share the simple yet effective changes I'm making to improve my daily life so that you can follow along as well. If you end up enjoying this video, it would mean the entire world to me if you would choose to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so that you can be among the first to know every time I post a new video. And with that, let's get into it. So why should we as mothers be interested in pursuing self-improvement? I've singled out 3 reasons for this. Number 1, this is our only shot at life. I am not going to let something like raising young children get in the way of living it to the fullest. In fact, I want to use my kids as my primary motivator to live my life even better, to enjoy myself more, to make the most use of the time that I have. Number 2 is that I'm finding that the more I optimize my life, the more I enjoy it, the less stressed I am, and the more I can live in the moment. With kids who are rapidly growing, I find that to be so important to me. I want to be able to live in the moment and enjoy everything as it is happening instead of spending my life just like completely stressed out and burnt out. And then number 3 is the mirroring piece, right? Our kids want to be just like us. When they see us doing something, they want to do it. It's the monkey see, monkey do of it all, right? And while obviously people are not locked into being exactly what their parents modeled when they were a child, I think we can all agree that it takes a lot of effort to overcome bad habits that were modeled for us as children. Personally, I want to make it as easy as possible for my kids to live a healthy, happy, and stress-free life. And that starts by me making my life the happiest, healthiest, and most stress-free that it can be. I think it's important to think about like the qualities that you would be proud of seeing in your future adult child. Like obviously you're gonna be proud of your kid no matter what. But if you put yourself in the shoes of yourself like 26 years from now, imagining yourself talking to a coworker or friend about things that your kid is doing, think about what those things are. You're not gonna sit there and be like, yeah man, my daughter, she is clocking about 8 hours of screen time every single day. It's been roughly 3 months since she did any kind of workout, and her main diet consists of snack foods and scraps of food that she's pulling off of her kids' plates. We set the example for our kids in all areas of life, whether that be in our choice of romantic partners. Your daughter is going to accept the same treatment that you accept from your current partner because that's what she's seeing modeled as love. And likewise, your son will think that the way that your partner is treating you is the way that he is supposed to treat his partner. The way you eat is showing your kids the way that they're supposed to eat in the future. The way you spend your time is showing your kids how they're supposed to spend their time in the future. And again, they are not locked into this, but to change those habits that they have seen modeled for them their whole life is going to be a big deal. It's going to take a lot of effort for them to overcome. And I think as parents, most of us don't want to be setting our kids up with big things for them to overcome. We want to try and make their paths as easy as possible. I know I do. I feel like that is the most motivating piece of all of this for me. There are so many different areas of self-improvement. So let's talk about the ones that I think are most beneficial for moms to focus on. Number 1 is physical. When you start focusing on physical self-improvement, all of the other areas start to become easier. If you are undernourishing yourself, if you are neglecting strength training and like keeping your body in good condition, it is going to be so hard for you to improve yourself in any other area. Also, it is just so accessible. The internet is going to lead you to believe that you need to spend a ton of money to buy like fancy gear and fancy like gym memberships and stuff in order to improve your physical health. That is just not true. Even something as simple as a daily walk can pay big returns when it comes to your physical self-improvement. And that is accessible. If you have 2 working legs, you can walk. I do not have like a walking pad. I live in a very like snowy, cold area for 6 months out of the year. Literally this whole winter, I paced back and forth in my very small living room to get my steps in, and it worked. Okay, excuse the outfit change. It's the next day because my baby ended up waking up early from his nap. But we're moms, we adapt, right? Anyways, like I was saying, just upping my physical activity in the form of daily walks has improved my health so much. I find myself getting less winded in my day-to-day activities, and I'm also losing weight. I'm down 25 pounds from my highest weight just by watching what I eat, eating in a calorie deficit, and walking. I have not gone to the gym a single time. But if walking isn't your thing, there's all kinds of ways that you can improve your physical health from the comfort of your own home, or if you have the access to it, going to the gym. YouTube is a great resource for this. You can find things like Taibo and Pilates and like bar workouts and yoga, all kinds of stuff that are fun and easy to do, and they will make you feel better, I promise. Especially as women, building up our muscle and our bone is so important, especially as we end up aging. We want to be able to chase after our grandkids one day and enjoy our lives, and that comes down to what we are doing right now. The second area is mental and like academic self-improvement. In this vein, it could be journaling, it could be picking a subject that interests you and getting books at the library and reading up on it. There's this attitude in our society that like once you're out of school or out of college, learning stops. You're no longer a learner, and learning is only supposed to happen within the confines of an academic institution, and I think that is just wrong. There is so much joy to be found in learning, and there are so many resources for us to be able to do it, especially now in the digital age. If you know me, you know I'm a big proponent of being mindful with your media consumption and not spending all your time on the internet, but I am also a big proponent of using the internet as the tool that it is. Online learning can be super accessible. I believe it's Harvard. They have like online courses completely for free. You can find so many things to learn just on YouTube. And then another great resource for this is your local library. Supporting your local library is the coolest, most punk thing you can do, and it's so much fun. We have a habit of making at least a weekly trip to our local library. We check out a bunch of kids' books as well as books for me. I've been trying to stick to a personal curriculum, so I write down all the things that are interesting to me, and I look for books and videos and podcasts that are about that subject so that I can move through the world with more knowledge. Knowledge is power, and we have the ability to gain it, and it just takes the initiative to go out and get it. And again, this is another thing where we are leading our children by example. We want our kids to be learning things, and so we need to show them that learning is a cool thing to do. It's fun and enjoyable. It's not drudgery, it's a privilege. If you guys are interested in hearing more about my personal curriculum as a mom, I know there's been a lot of videos about making a personal curriculum, but I haven't seen a lot of them that have been specifically tailored to motherhood. And obviously, I'm learning things that are outside of motherhood as well, but coming at it from that lens, and from that lens as someone who maybe doesn't have like 1 to 2 hours to devote to her learning practice every single day. I think that seeing some of those videos can make you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not doing enough, but as moms, we have to sneak in what we can, and what we can do is enough. So if you're interested in seeing what I'm doing, let me know. I'd be so excited to make a video about that as well. Number 3 is financial self-improvement. I feel like as a stay-at-home mom, this one can be kind of difficult. Money is something that I have really struggled with, like specifically mindset around money. Becoming a stay-at-home mom was actually very difficult for me mentally. Not having my own income that I had full control over made me feel very like powerless and childlike. My husband is not like a tightwad, and if I need something, I can get it usually. I mean, assuming we have the money for it. But as somebody who has been very hyper independent from a very young age, it had been a big step for me to like kind of take a step back and be like, all right, I'm not the one in charge of doing this. Even though me staying at home made the most financial sense for our family, like literally, I would have been paying more for daycare than what I would have been able to make. And I didn't want to go back to work. I did not want to be dropping my kids off at daycare. I wanted to spend that time with them. The money bit itself has been hard for me to work on. And so since I can't be focusing on the money that I can bring into our household, I've been focusing on the money that I can save us. By me staying at home, I'm able to prepare all of our meals at home, which saves us a ton of money. I'm able to make most of our food from scratch instead of buying pre-made food items, which also saves a bunch of money. I'm able to shop around for the best deals, which can be time consuming and maybe wouldn't be possible if I were working outside of the home. And I can also work on smaller side hustles that can bring in money as well. I can make my hobbies work for us. We are in the middle of kind of like revamping how we work with our finances right now, and in the future I would love to talk more about that, but we're still like kind of ironing things out to make it work smoothly. I think the thing here with financial self-improvement is having a plan and knowing where you want your money to go so that eventually you can use that to build generational wealth for your children as a legacy. And then lastly is spiritual self-improvement. This is going to obviously look different for everybody. My idea of spiritual self-improvement is probably going to look a lot different than your idea of spiritual self-improvement. But I think it's important to sit with yourself and see what it is that you believe and tap into that, tap into your spiritual practice. For you, that may look like daily prayer or time spent reading your holy book. That may look like cultivating a yoga practice and trying to make the time for that, or cultivating a divination practice. Whatever it is for you, I think finding the time to build deep spiritual roots is going to be important. This is another one of those areas where I feel like a lot of the advice just does not work for moms, because when we talk about spiritual self-improvement, a lot of it is like sit in silence and meditate for X amount of time, and it's like, as a mom, silence doesn't really exist for me, and when it does, it's in very, very short quantities. It's not like a reliable time that I can plan on every day, you know what I mean? Learning how to work your quiet time, your spiritual time into your day-to-day life as a mom, I think that is a very important skill. I think this is an area that you can invite your kids into as well. Your spiritual practice now that you are a mom might look a lot different than it did prior to having kids, and I think that's okay, and I think it's actually more than okay. I think it's a beautiful thing that we are able to teach our kids how to tap into that side of themselves. Okay, so now we've talked about the why behind self-improvement as a mom. We've talked about the areas that you can work on improving, and now it's time to work on the how. My number one piece of advice for this is to get off your phone, okay? And I do recognize the irony in saying that on a YouTube video, right? You are almost certainly watching this video from your phone. And like I said earlier, I don't think that technology is all bad, but I think that a lot of us are devoting way more time and attention to our phones, and specifically social media, than we would really feel good about. If you feel great about your social media usage, this isn't for you then. But I think I can speak for quite a lot of us when I say that we are spending, as a society, too much time with our faces buried in our phones. There are a ton of practical ways that you can lower your screen time, but I want to talk about the one that has worked the most for me, which is the sponsor of today's video, the brick. The brick is this very small and unassuming hunk of plastic that you can stick to your refrigerator, and it acts like a physical key for your phone. When you get the brick, you set up the app on your phone and you can choose which of the apps you want to block. You can create different modes as well. So if you want to lock a certain number of apps but have a certain other number free, or if you want to lock all of your apps, you can create different modes, name them different things for different days or different times of the day. Then all you have to do is you tap your phone to the brick, and everything that you choose to have locked is locked and stays locked until you tap your phone to the brick again. Having to physically move and tap your phone to the brick adds an extra layer of friction, unlike built-in apps on your phone where you just have to like press a button when it reminds you that your screen time is up. I choose to take it a step further. I brick my phone before I go to bed at night, and I stick my brick with the rest of my husband's stuff that he takes with him to work. He brings it with him to work, and so I am physically locked out of most of the apps on my phone from the time I go to bed at night to the time my husband gets home the next day. That literally locks me out of my phone for like a solid 19 hours most days. It's such a small and unassuming tool, and I cannot believe just how much of a difference it has made in my life. If you would like to give the brick a try, I have a link in the description below where you can get 10% off, and then I get a small kickback for recommending it. If you would choose to use my link, it would literally mean so much to me. I put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and that is just one way that you can support me. So let's get into my second piece of practical advice, which is make it enjoyable. So whatever task it is that you are planning on implementing for self-improvement, maybe let's say journaling, figure out a way to make it fun. Make it something that you're going to look forward to doing. So in our journaling example, maybe have your favorite pen and a really nice journal to do it in. If it's a pen that makes you feel good, you love the color of the ink and it writes really smoothly, you're gonna be so much more likely to sit down and journal if you have a good pen than if you're using like a crappy pen that kind of has skips and doesn't write as smoothly. You're just gonna look forward to it that much more with good supplies. And that's just one example. You could also say maybe like you light a special candle while you're doing your journaling, or you have a special type of tea that you always make. Kind of building up a little bit of ritual around these habits is a great way to encourage yourself to continue doing them. Again, if it's something that you're looking at as drudgery, you're not going to be doing it, and so it's not going to be bringing you any benefit because the benefit comes from doing it. My third piece of advice is to make it easy. I know I talked about friction before when I was talking about the brick, and I think that the concept of friction is just so beautiful when we are thinking of, stopping bad habits and also starting good habits. You can use friction to make it harder to do your bad habits and also use it, or use the lack of it, to make your good habits easier. I'm going to use what's going to sound like a really dumb example here, which is going for a walk. I've been trying to go for an extra walk after I put my son to bed at night. He goes down to bed at around 7 p.m., which means I still have like 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight after he goes down, and I've been wanting to get out and go for a walk. And one way that I've been making it easier for myself, and this sounds really simple and dumb, but I'm making sure to unlace my shoes after I get in from the walk, so that when I'm ready to go the next night, all I have to do is put the shoes on and retie them. I don't have to fiddle with like untying the double knot, which, like, again, that sounds so dumb and so simple, but I have a lot more motivation to get my shoes off when I'm done walking than I do to untie them and put them back on the next night. So instead of just like slipping my feet out of my walking shoes, I'm just physically untying them. It makes a big difference, even though it's a very small action. If you have nutrition goals that you're trying to stick to, meal prepping your breakfasts and lunches at the start of the week is a great way to make sure that you're going to be eating the healthy food that you want to eat, instead of just like kind of eating garbage that's easier to grab. Life as a mom is difficult enough as it is, so you really want to make it that the good habits are the easy ones to do. My fourth piece of practical advice is to involve your kids. I mentioned this in the spiritual practice one, but you can do this for a lot of things. So let's use going for a walk as an example again. If you put your kids in a stroller and take them with you, it's going to be easier than trying to carve out time when they're asleep or when someone else is watching them, because then you're relying on someone else, right? You're either relying on them to be sleeping or you're relying on someone else to be watching them. Whereas if you bring them with you, the only person that you have to rely on is yourself. Plus, it's going to get them out in the fresh air and enjoying the sunshine, and you're going to be able to have a bonding moment with your kids. I've been loving taking my kids for walks. It's been so much fun, and I get my steps in such a pleasant and fun way. And then my last piece of advice is to track your progress. With something like journaling, where it's like building up over time, that's really easy to do. My step goal is another thing that I've been working up to, and one thing that I do is I go into the Fitbit app at the end of the day when I'm really proud of the amount of steps I've taken, and I will take a screenshot, and then a couple months later I'll go back and see that screenshot and be like, wow, I remember feeling so proud of this day, and that's like a normal day for me now. But there are so many different ways to measure your progress. I'm going to be coming out with another video on how I'm measuring like my everyday progress as well. When we were kids, I feel like we did a lot of like sticker charts and stuff like that, where it was like you could see how many days in a row you'd been doing a certain habit or something. And like, I feel like we don't do that as much as adults, and I feel like our brains are still wired that same way to like seeing that kind of progress. And we're just not tapping into that. And I feel like we should tap back into that because that's really fun. There's a lot of noise out there that makes it seem like motherhood is just constantly giving things up and that you are kind of a victim to motherhood. And that's just an idea that I want to wholeheartedly reject. If anything, becoming a mom has made me more driven and motivated than I ever have been in my entire life, and I just want to use that as fuel to become the best person I can be and to enjoy my life to the fullest, to enjoy my kids to the fullest, and to show them what a life well lived can look like. And I want to encourage you guys to be able to do the same. That's all I have to say on the subject for today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I look forward to chatting with you guys again next Friday.